We have found great help in the support of the community in Bahrain and all of the people and friends that we know. We've found great support from the British Embassy in Qatar, who are doing all they can at this moment to help us. We obviously have legal representation from a lawyer in Qatar who is fighting our case. But the real help that we need is in the common sense of the court. Not in its judgment, they haven't had a judgment yet, but in the court proceedings, in how they're able to look at information, decide what next step to make and so on. And those things to me don't seem as if they're happening in a way that's fair. We have presented evidence and court documents as requested by the court, but no witnesses have been called. Rebecca's never had a chance to speak. I've never spoken. The family have spoken on the other ticket, but we haven't had a chance. So, and it seems to be a crossing of papers transferring from court, from plaintiff to court, from defendant to court and so on, but there's no exchange of real information about the child and the psychological and various other things. There's no conversation. It's just the throwing of documents. At the outset of when this case was logged and Rebecca signed the paper to say that she'd received the case, I contacted the family to try to negotiate with them to find out what it is their concern was. And their concern, as relayed to me, was that they wanted more access to see Adam in Qatar. And we agreed that. We said, well, we've always been open with you. We have a great relationship. Why don't we spend more time working constructively to reach that agreement than working as a destructive force, battling things in court? Because at that time it was at a very early stage of the court proceeding. We hadn't even had the hearing. And they refused to cooperate in that. And in fact, they refused to meet on several occasions to discuss those things. So we never got to a point of actually discussing anything to even get to agreement. We couldn't really agree on the agenda and get them to even turn up. This was the problem from my perspective. We have filed a case with the public prosecution for kidnapping based on our advice from the lawyer.
Right.
This is what we were told to do, and these are the things that we think we've done all the things we should have done. We've certainly contacted a lot of people in various positions in government. She was invited after being in the court to go with the uncle back to the General Authority for Minor Affairs. And at that point when she arrived there, she was informed by the uncle in front of a witness who's a manager at the Minor Affairs that he'd actually tricked her, duped her, and had basically convinced her to sign a document that wasn't for inheritance of land but was for custody of Adam. And it was at that point that Rebecca was then realised what she had done in signing basically a receipt or an acknowledgement that the case was active. So she didn't know at that time, and that's where it happened that we then were informed. We didn't know at that time what the court case was about because we hadn't been to the court. So it took us maybe 2 or 3 days after that event to go to the court, get all the papers and actually translate the Arabic content of the custody case to really find out what this was about.
So, is there some inheritance that Adam is due? Is that why Rebecca thought that this could very possibly just be a document that has to do with Adam's inheritance from his father? Yeah,
that's a good question. That's exactly, I think, why Rebecca placed herself in that position. For those people that don't understand, why did she sign this? Due to the death of Jamal, there was inheritance, there was land, there was various things that had to be processed and were governed by the Minor Affairs. So as she'd been with the meeting with them in the morning, she obviously didn't feel that it was a big issue to go with one of the uncles and sign this document. And so it did kind of follow a logical pattern. Obviously it wasn't that, but that's probably her reasoning. That's probably why she signed it. She did it very reluctantly, and she was, I would say, coerced into signing it. She was more or less pushed there, told to go there, and they convinced her. And it took a lot of convincing, but eventually she did, because she thought, well, this is, I obviously need to do this.
Because she had been lied to about what the reasons for that document were, and she felt she was doing something in the best interests of Adam.
Absolutely, that's what she thought, yeah. She was only doing what she thought was in the best interest. I mean, the first thing she did was to break down. She got upset, she called me. I tried to speak with the people there to find out what was going on. That was at the point that I found out what was going on. I had no idea up to that point. I think the next thing that she did was she went to the grandmother's house, because although they had applied for custody, at that moment we knew where Adam was. So she went to the grandmother's house, and I think it was at that point she found out that Adam was actually gone, and she couldn't make contact with him, and I think that was probably the last time she saw him or spoke to him. I think they believe what they're doing is right, because they are in some way trying to replace the brother or son, Jamal, that was lost, with some living memory, and Adam represents that. So I think this is part of their logic, as well as there are so many people involved in it from that side. There are other people involved in it from the family, have other reasons. So that there are many factors involved in this, not just the sincerity of trying to get that boy, because Jamal is gone. The whole family's ripped apart. We're not functioning as we normally do, as anyone. It's been devastating, more so for Rebecca, because she's stuck there in Qatar, in a place she doesn't know. She's not in familiar surroundings. Nobody's helping her. The guys over there can often be quite rude and shouting at her because she's very insistent on trying to find things, and people get upset when you're trying to force them to do something. They've got their own process and procedures. It's not very flexible, and it's a very difficult situation. It's been a few weeks now, so you're talking to me now at a point where I've had 6 weeks more or less to adjust to this. If you'd have spoke to me nearer to the event, I would have been more angry and more upset, but now I've got used to the process. I'm trying to work out in my mind, how can we solve this? This is what we're trying to get to now.
What do you think's going through Adam's mind?
I don't think he knows what's happening. Maybe he has some clue, but we have been told that as far as he knows, he's on an extended vacation. As far as we know, he doesn't know anything about it. We don't have any contact with him, so I can't tell you what. I have no clue what he's thinking right now, or even where he is. I'd like to tell Adam that his mother and father love him very much, and we want him back. And I hope that if he gets a chance to see this, that he would either call us or would make an effort to contact us in some way if he can, or explain to the family that he wants to come home, which I'm sure he does if he knew what was happening. If he knew that he was being kept there against our will, I know he would want to come home. I know that for a fact. Next is we have to go to court this week on Thursday, and we have to try and fight this. That's what we have to do. And if we don't win that, which is the final judgment day, we have to appeal it, and we have to keep fighting, and we have to get as much support behind us as possible to help us to get this resolved as quickly as we can.
Are there any online resources that people can refer to?
We have the Bring Adam Home, Bring Adam Back Home, Facebook. So you can log on to Bring Adam Back Home on Facebook.
Right.
And that will give you access to information about Adam, photographs, and you can add your comments, and we're looking at that as basically as an online tool to get a petition, to get support together. This is all we have at the moment.
Right.
And there's been online tools, there's been information in the media, so if you type "kidnap Adam Jones" on Google, you'll get all the listings of the story itself, and there's more detail on that.
Okay.
For anybody that doesn't know about the story, I would say that my message is that any support they can add to get Adam home would be fantastic. I think the message should be out there in the press as far as the British media is concerned. To us, this is a kidnapping of a British citizen, and it's really disgraceful how it's been handled. I'm sure it's not to say that this is how every Qatari citizen would behave, but we don't have great faith in the court. Obviously, we don't have great faith in this family now. But I also would speak to the Qatari citizens out there that this is not how Qatar as a country should represent itself. And this is a bad image for them, as well it is very much distressing for us as a family. And I don't think any family in the United States, the UK, Europe, anywhere in the world would accept this. It's unacceptable. In most countries, it's unacceptable to take a child from a parent, you know, and I've never heard of a situation in my life or anywhere else in the news or media or anything where an uncle can just take a child from a family with no legal right and just dictate to the court and to everybody else what he or she wants, with complete disregard for the parent itself. And we have parental responsibilities there, you know, just being ignored. So my message is that we want to get everyone supporting us, that hopefully that message will resonate and the Qatari government will see what a mistake this really is, and then someone will step in and exercise some sort of common sense. That's what we're looking for.